I am Dr. R.R. Sanap, Head and Associate Professor, Department of Botany, Rao Bahadur Narayan Rao Baroke College, Rampur. Today I am going to deliver the lecture on the development of male gametophyte in Pinus. It is the part of syllabus of T.Y.B.Sc Botany, paper 4th, BO 334, and title of the paper is the Spermatophyta and Paleobotany. In Spermatophyta, it consists of Angiosperms and Gymnosperms. In Gymnosperm, there is a life cycle of Pinus, and in that, today I am going to deliver the talk on the development of male gametophyte in Pinus. So friends, if we see the Pinus, so this Pinus, it is the heterosporous plant. Pinus, it is heterosporous. It means the two different types of spores, that is the microspores and the megaspores, they are formed, and both this microspores and megaspores, they develop in the different cones, and that cones they are called as the male cone and female cone. And this male and female cones, they develops on the same plant but on the different branches. And so Pinus, it is a monoecious plant having the two different type of cones on the same plant. So if we see this Pinus plant and its male and female cone. So here the male cone, it develops on the dwarf shoot, and here many male cones, they develop in the bunch or in the cluster, and they are covered by the many leaves which are called as the Pinus needles. So the leaves, they are needle shaped, and that's why these are called as the Pinus needle. So these are the male cones of Pinus, and these are the needle, that is the Pinus needle, that is the leaves of the Pinus. And on this dwarf shoot, many scale leaves are present. So these are the scale leaves, and this is the dwarf shoot. So this is the dwarf shoot, and this is the main shoot. Opposite to it, on the main shoot, here the female cone is produced, and this female cone, it is hard, woody and stony in nature, and this female cone, it shows the presence of the wavy outline. So here this is the female cone. So it is also covered by the presence of the many needles. Now when this male cones, they becomes mature, then later on they produces the microspores or pollen grains, and these microspores or pollen grains, so after the maturity of this microsporangium or this microsporophylls, in microsporangia are present. These microsporangia later on they dehisces, and all the pollen grains, they comes outside, and then later on, before the pollination, if we see this pollen grains, so this pollen grain, it is having the two walls, that is the outer wall, it is known as the exine, and inner wall, it is known as the entine. So thus here, this is the exine, and this is the entine. And it shows the presence of the two wings. So if we see these wings, so these wings, they shows the presence of the wavy sculpture at its periphery, and these wings, they are very important for the pollination. So when this pollen grain, they comes outside of the sporangium, with the help of these wings, these pollen grains, they float or swim in the air and get pollinated from the male cone towards the female. So thus here these are the wings, and inner side to this entine there is a presence of the nucleus. So thus here there is a presence of the nucleus. So this is the nucleus, and there is a presence of the dense cytoplasm. So this is the cytoplasm. So when the development of male gametophyte starts, so later on here this nucleus of the microspore or this pollen grain, it starts to divide, and there is a formation of the two cells. Two cells are formed. So thus here this is exine, this is entine. Here the new cell it is formed, it is called as the first prothelial cell. This is the first prothelial cell, and here there is a presence of this the antheridial cell. First prothelial cell, and this is the antheridial cell, and here surrounding to it there is a presence of these wings. So later on this antheridial cell, it again divides in the next development. So this is the entine, this is the exine. There is a presence of the nucleus, and this nucleus, as I told you, it divides, firstly forming the first prothelial cell, and later on this antheridial cell, or it is also called as the apical cell, so this again divides, and there is a formation of the second prothelial cell. Second prothelial cell, and this cell, which is large in size, here it is known as the antheridial cell. So thus here this is the antheridial cell. Here these are the wings. So later on in the next development, if we see, this first prothelial cell and this second prothelial cell later on they degenerates, and here this antheridial cell it again divides. So thus here these two cells, that is this two prothelial cells, so these are the first prothelial cell and this is the second prothelial cell. And this antheridial cell, it divides, and there are formation of the two cells or two nuclei, and these are called as, one is called as the generative nucleus, and second is called as the tube nucleus. Generative and the tube nucleus. So all this content, that is nuclei, they are present in the cytoplasm, and here there is the presence of these wings. Then later on, this generative nucleus, it again divides, as I told you here. In this stage, when this pollen grain or this microspore, when it is present in the four-celled condition, so later on this microspore or pollen grain, it liberates or it comes out from the microsporangium, and then the pollination takes place. So up to this stage, the development of male gametophyte, it takes place in the microsporangium. It means when these pollen grains or the microspores, they are present in the male cone. So later on, the next development, when the pollination takes place in this stage, so the in this four-celled structure, that pollen grains, they falls in the archegonial chamber, and then later on this pollen grains, it remains as it is for a resting period of time up to 11 months, and then in the next season this further development it take place. And during the further development, so here how the development is taking place. So here this is the exine, this is the entine. This two nuclei, that is this nuclei, or this may called as these prothelial cells, later on they degenerates, they get dissolved, and this generative nucleus later on it divides, and there are formation of the two nuclei, and then later on the here this due to the after the development, these two nuclei are formed. First nucleus, it is called as the stalk cell, and second is known as the body cell. Stalk cell and the body cell. And thus later on here the during the germination, this entine, so this entine, it is the thin layer, exine it is rough or tough. So later on this entine, it comes outside through this exine by breaking the wall, and there is a formation of a tube. It is called as the pollen tube. So thus here the pollen tube is formed, and then this body cell or the body nucleus, we call as the body cell or body nucleus, later on it undergoes the division, and thus here later on this pollen tube, it becomes enlarged in size. There is a presence of this exine. So after the breaking the wall, here the exine it breaks, and this entine, it forms the pollen tube. So this is the pollen tube. Pollen tube is formed, which consists of the stalk cells, and later on this body cell, it divides. Here this is the tube cell is present here. So thus here this stalk cell, then this body cell. So this body cell nucleus, it divides, and here the two nuclei are formed, and thus here these two nuclei which are formed by the division of these body cells, these are nothing but these are the male gametes. So these are the male gametes, and later on it follows the stalk cell. So this is the stalk cell and this is the tube nucleus. So this is tube nucleus or tube cell. This is the stalk cell or stalk nucleus, and this is the pollen tube. And thus here this pollen tube, it is formed in the pollen chamber. Later on this pollen tube, it penetrates deep into the tissue of the ovule, that is the nucellus, and then later on here these two male gametes, later on it comes in contact with the egg. That egg, it is present in the archegonium in the female gametophyte, and thus here the formation of male gametes from the germination of pollen grain is known as the male gametophyte. So thus here the male gametophyte is formed. So thus from the single microspore or this pollen grain, here the two male gametes are developed, and these two male gametes, then they are known as the sperms. They may be treated as sperms or the male gametes. So thus here this development of male gametophyte take place, and the formation of male gametes from the single microspore or pollen grain is known as the male gametophyte. So thus here in the development of male gametophyte, the two male gametes are formed. So this is about the development of male gametophyte in Pinus. So I am going to conclude here. Thank you very much.